Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4Wheel Parts. Today we have Justin Krabben coming on the show. He is a snowmobile watercross racer, which we don't get a lot of on the show, so I'm excited for that. But also, we've been talking most of this year in 2019 about him coming on the show at some point and just talking back and forth. And one thing in particular changed that made it very clear it was time for him to come on, and that was his success with a relatively new platform to the motorsports world, TikTok, for social media. He had one of his videos hit close to 5 million views, which is just tremendous engagement for a social media platform, especially for a newer account. So we talk about that along with a bunch of other things, but really glad to have him on. I will tell you, it was one of the weirder technical difficulty shows that I've had in a long time. I've had a streak recently of having good success with technical stuff, but we had the call drop 2 or 3 times. I actually had a bunch of issues on my end that I didn't even know were happening while we were recording. So after the fact, I had a lot of additional work in editing to clean the show up. So if this is the first show you've ever listened to, it might not be the best audio quality, but I did try to recover as much of it as possible. So I apologize ahead of time for any weird audio-ness. I even had my dog at one point freaked out in the background, and you could hear him barking towards the end of the show, but no big deal. The content is still there and still good. But before I get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about 4Wheel Parts. This is mostly my reminder portion of 4Wheel Parts because I talk a lot about all the good deals that they have. And I kind of give updates every week about, different specials that they have going on. But one of the things I always like to remind people of, especially since a lot of these purchases end up being bigger, is they do have promotional offers that are available. So if you want to get a lift kit and wheels and tires and all that stuff, even with the deals factored in, it can add up, right? That's a big investment. But they do have financing, and they also have places that will do the install. So they've got 92 locations throughout the United States, and they install everything that they sell. So you got those two options if you're looking at one of these things and like, wow, this is overwhelming right now for me, but there are options to make this happen. So check that out. Head over to 4wheelparts.com, or if you ever got questions for me directly, let me know. Josh at sponsoredriderclubpodcast.com. And if you're already emailing me, one thing I would love to hear about is if you've made changes to your program as a result of listening to the show. I would love that feedback, whether it comes to me in an email or if it's in Apple Podcast rating and review, that's fine. That's one thing Justin and I talked a little bit about. He's been listening to the show for a long time, and he's made tweaks as a result to his sponsorship program. He's made some tweaks. So that's awesome to hear that feedback. And then no matter what podcast platform you use, go ahead and subscribe. It's the best way to get the episodes automatically downloaded to your phone every week. It's easier than going on the website and listening to it, but that's an option too. Yeah. I want to now take a minute to quickly thank the amazing sponsors for this show, and then you'll hear more about them later on in the show when I do a little commercial break. But right now I just want to shout some folks out. AMSOIL, they provide amazing lubrication products, and they're a company that runs on freedom. You can find out more at amsoil.com/rider. SolderWeld, they produce game-changing metal bonding technology, and they're ready to rescue your race. TopThePodium.com, experts in motorsport sponsorship, website creation, and resume building. And then Crash Addict Industries, they provide human protection and extreme racing products. I also want to shout out some of our other partners, NBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, and High Octane Coffee. And speaking of High Octane Coffee, now it's time for Joe Sylvester to give you his marketing tune-up.
What's up, guys? Joe Sylvester here with your High Octane Coffee marketing tune-up of the day. Today I want to talk about sponsor attraction. Sponsor attraction, to me, is a much better tactic than quote-unquote sponsor hunting. You want to build your brand. You want to establish yourself in the racing community and in the marketing realm of things, as a respected individual, as a professional, you don't want to just keep knocking on doors and hoping somebody answers. You want the sponsors to come to you. That is the most ideal situation for you to be in, and it's the most ideal situation for them. Believe it or not, companies do have, people that work for them, or even owners of companies. They take notice on social media. They see what's going on, and they see the brands. They see the people that stand out. Make yourself stand out from the rest. Be very active on social media. Be very active with your press releases. Try to grow your email database. And like I said, build your brand. Make your brand something that a company would be proud to be associated with. And like I said, when they come to you, it's a much better feeling than sitting there all night long sending out 100 emails. I know this from experience, trust me.
Today's show features Justin Krabben, and probably one of the more persistent guests that I've ever had on a show here. So we've been talking for a little while about getting you on, and you stuck with me, and you're here now. So let's hear about you. I want to know a little bit about yourself.
My name's Justin Krabben from Rocky Mountain House, Alberta, Canada. I live in Minneapolis now, and started listening to the podcast kind of early on, and I wasn't racing or anything at the time, and the podcast was a big reason why I started an Instagram account and then started watercross racing and kind of used some of the episodes and some of the people we've had on to kind of start my career in racing.
That's awesome. And now, are you primarily doing watercross right now? Is that like your main focus, or is that just something that you do?
Yeah, so I grew up riding the mountains, being from Alberta, Canada, and then I came down to Minnesota on a hockey scholarship and got a job in Minneapolis after. And oddly enough, my fiance's family is kind of heavy into racing. Two of her uncles race watercross. One does like the speed runs. Her grandpa actually built engines for Addict back in the Boss Cat days. So went to a watercross race, kind of realized I'd love to be involved in that. And this past year purchased a Arctic Cat F8 that was set up for watercross, and this is my first year.
For me, watercross is super stressful, and to watch or think about. I don't do it. I've crossed some open water and had to change my pants afterwards. But for people who don't follow snowmobiling, basically they take the snowmobile and they go across the water, and I don't know how intricate you are when you're out on the water, if you're doing just ovals or whatnot, but it is just crazy how you can control the sled on the water. And again, I don't do this. So what kind of courses do you run when you're out there? Is it ovals? Is it figure eights? Is it other stuff? What do you do?
Yeah, so in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, where the Midwest, where the IWA, International Watercross Association, is, we race in an oval turning right, and then there's also drag races. So there's normally in the mornings we do all our drag races, which is obviously just a straight line, and then in the afternoon there's the oval races that for semi-pro class you do 4 laps, pro class you do 6 laps, and then for the finals you do 6 laps as well with 6 different riders out there at the same time. And then on the East Coast is the EWA, and they actually race same thing, ovals, but they turn left-handed. And but yeah, the snowmobiles kind of we narrow the front ends, have short skis, adjust the rear suspension so it kind of planes up in the water a little bit better and keeps the front end in the air. But it handles pretty similarly to what a snowmobile kind of handles in deeper snow or in the mountains. So you're standing up, leaning one way, and kind of counter steering and getting it on edge to turn right.
So I would be horrible at it because I can't ride in the mountains. I should say in the one weekend that I attempted to do it, I was bad. I shouldn't say that I'm always bad, but yeah, let's just say I shouldn't test things out on the water.
Yeah, it's a learning curve for sure. I grew up riding the mountains, since I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. And that was literally how I got into motorsports and snowmobiling. And so watercross came to me relatively quickly. I had a pretty good year where I finished 9th in semi-pro stock and overall points. And then in the last race of the season, I actually got on the podium in semi-pro mod. Nice. And so it was a great way to end the season.
No, that's awesome. And I actually want to get a little bit more in your background there. I normally ask it, but we kind of started flowing into it. I mean, what did we miss about, growing up, getting in motorsports? I ultimately want to get to the path that you took to get to where you're at today.
Sure. Yeah, my family's like a bit of a gearhead family. So I always kind of grew up with snowmobiles and quads and dirt bikes and stuff, but grew up in a small town on a farm. So always had snowmobiles, quads and dirt bikes, and snowmobiling was like my biggest hobby away from like hockey and baseball. Maybe sometimes a little bit too much of a distraction from hockey, but it all kind of worked out well. When I was between like 12 and 16 years old, I put on just thousands and thousands of miles, like riding with buddies and family, like in the mountains, power lines and ditches. I would say like right where I grew up is very similar to like Michigan snowmobiling, where you can like get on power lines and pretty good snow. Mm-hmm. But then we have a snowmobile cabin in British Columbia, like south of Revelstoke. So my grandfather actually started a snowmobile club up there, got a 100-year lease on an acre of land, like up in the mountains. So you have to snowmobile 6 miles just to get to the cabin.
Oh, so that's awesome.
That's probably my favorite place on earth, where once you get out there, you wake up every day and there's really nothing to do except to go snowmobiling that day.
Yeah, that's wild. You said a 100-year lease?
Yeah, I don't even know all the details on it, but they got a 100-year lease to put a cabin on an acre of land, like on what's the equivalent of state land. And I think it's probably like 40 or 50 years into it, and so I'm not sure on the details in 40 or 50 years, how it's gonna renew or what.
That's crazy though. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, it's actually pretty cool. So he started out with like 2 of his good buddies, and now it's grown into like the 3 original families and multiple other people, and now there's like 60 members and 2 like large cabins that can hold probably 20 people each at least.
Nice. I thought of a somewhat off the wall question here, but if I don't ask it now, I might never remember to ask it. Have you ever dunked a sled? Like, you ever lost a sled in the water and just it's done?
It almost happened a few times this year. In Menominee, we had, I think, 3 or 4 snowmobiles out there that we have a rope and a buoy that comes up when we sink.
Okay.
And the buoy didn't come up on multiple people's sleds, and so they were just like lost like 20 feet under the water. And we eventually had to get like someone with scuba gear to dive down there. They tried like fishing sonar and everything. So they were able to retrieve all the sleds, but I think the one took like 2 or 3 different trips out there, like trying to find it. So I've never personally lost one like for good, but that was probably the closest I'd seen this year where we had some troubles getting some sleds back.
That's pretty crazy. Okay, so enough with me interrupting you with the 100-year lease comment and the dunk of the sled comment. Why don't you get back to your story, and I'll shut my mouth for a minute.
Yeah, so kind of like I mentioned, I was a pretty good hockey player. Got drafted in like Western Hockey League in Canada, and then ended up playing Junior A, and fully expected to come down to the States and play Division I hockey, and it kind of fell through at the last minute. I still wanted to come down to the States, so I ended up coming down and going to St. Scholastica in Duluth. Played 4 years there, was a captain on the team for a couple of years, and by the time I graduated, I could have went and played like some lower level pro hockey, but decided that I should probably start start my career. So
Mm-hmm.
I got a finance and accounting degree, and I work for a private equity company in Minneapolis now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what kind of got me to stay in Minneapolis. And then, like I said, met my fiance, bought a trail sled, started riding around Minnesota a little bit, but then got into the racing this year, and that's where I'm at now. Now just trying to get back into backcountry riding. So on the lookout for a backcountry sled to make a few trips out west.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, tell us about like present day. I mean, what are the things that you're working on, or what are the things you're super excited about?
Yeah, I'm super happy with how the season ended, getting the third place at Brainerd International Raceway. Just fully expect to come back next year and hopefully get a win at one of the races and continue to improve in the sport. And then, like I said, I want to kind of get back into backcountry riding. Throughout playing junior hockey and college hockey and everything, I barely got to go out west at all. So now that I'm kind of into my career and can head out west once in a while, I wish Minnesota was a little bit closer to the mountains. But that's the biggest downfall, not being like near Calgary or like near the mountains in Canada.
Yeah, that's one of the things for me too. Like I've done one trip out west, for backcountry, but I used somebody else's sled when I was out there. I mean, my sled's a tank. I don't know if I want it out anywhere where I actually get stuck. But it's kind of different. There's a lot of effort that goes into getting your sleds out there, or renting some or borrowing somebody else's. A little bit more planning involved with that.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely want to rent if you're going out there. What do you have, the Arctic Cat 1100?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Definitely for the first few times when you go out there, it's probably best to rent and get on one of those that meant for being in 3 or 4 feet of snow.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine weighs about 1,800 pounds, dry. So it's just a tank. Have I got it stuck? No, I have not officially gotten it stuck yet. I did kind of hit a rock at very low speed, which put me into let's just say I needed some help, but I wouldn't call it stuck. But when I went out west, I mean, I was stuck every second. I was like, this is not even fun anymore. But long story short, long story short, we're okay out here in Michigan, out here in the Midwest, snowmobilers.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I want to know who's some of your current partners and sponsors.
My current sponsors are Evans Power Sports, Bikeman Performance, Zox Helmets, Shot Race Gear, and Leo South. Evans Power Sports sells like the waterless coolant that's less likely to overheat your bike or your engine, and kind of better for your internals. Bikeman Performance is kind of all things go fast in the motorsports industry. I'm sure a lot of listeners know about them. Joey Strube is a kind of a big advocate for watercross racing and helps out a lot of the racers, but is kind of like one of the most knowledgeable guys in the industry. And then Zox Helmets and Shot Race Gear, they're like some kind of newer brands that are under like the Motovan distributing umbrella. So I got hooked up with them through Instagram. Zox Helmet are like unbelievable helmets for like kind of a reasonable price, and Shot Race Gear is we end up wearing motocross gear for watercross racing.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
And they're kind of like under the same. They're a in-house brand for them. So they've been great. I've kind of been able to grow my relationship with them over the last season.
Awesome. So I looked up Zox Helmets again right now. I swear somebody else was on the show.
I think that Whittlecombe.
Who was it?
The Whittlecombe, I think, the Hillcross guy, or the Hill Climb dirt bike guy.
You might be right. Yeah, you're right. Actually, I'm going to verify that. So for people who don't know, Sean Whittycombe, he's been on twice. I think you're right that he was with Zox. Because I remember looking him up and I was like, yeah, that's a newer company. On their Instagram they don't have a ton of followers yet, but like it's cool looking stuff.
Yeah,
I can't type in.
It's a great product for like a great price, and I've actually been able to like do so for Grandsburg World Championship watercross. That's our biggest event, and there's thousands of fans that come out for the whole weekend. So I reached out to them and asked if they wanted to do like a giveaway for the kids there. So they sent me down a youth helmet, and then they announced it throughout the weekend to like draw for all the kids to put their names in a drawing for the helmet, and they're able to give that away. And I think it was a great opportunity for Zox to kind of like get their name out there to compete with the FXRs for like kind of like you said, no one really knows about them yet. So it's things like that where I was trying to help them grow their brands.
No, it's cool. I love that. I love stories of smaller companies kind of breaking in through sponsorship, and I think it's a fun way of partnering with somebody and watching them grow too. So yeah, it's pretty neat. I was just checking out their Instagram again too, and I thought that I may have seen a picture of you snuck in there. At least there's somebody on a wall. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Look at this guy.
Yeah. And then after that, we did a Instagram giveaway too. We gave away a couple helmets like jointly on our both of our Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
And then we got some great feedback from the two guys that won it, and
nice.
Through working with them, I've ended up actually I was working with Pro MX goggles, which were great goggles, but to grow my relationship with Shot and Zox, I want to continue that relationship because they've supported me, and I want to do as much as I can for them.
Awesome. And I was going to just elaborate a little bit more about how you ended up getting on the show here, and it's kind of like a public service announcement for everybody else. I always ask people on these shows, like, give me feedback, like I want to know what I can do better and how I can improve. And you've actually done that. You've pointed out a few things to me before, like, hey, you did this, you did that. What do you think about this? Tweak this. I think it makes the show a little bit better. So I appreciate that.
No, it's no worries. Like I said, I probably listen to like 90% of the podcasts, and I live in a cubicle, so I listen to quite a few podcasts. So I figured I'd throw some feedback at you, and you seem like the type of guy that would accept it with open arms.
You know what? I'm going to take that soundbite there, and I'm going to share it with my wife, who does not listen to the show. But I'm just going to be like, listen, honey, like I'm not the only one that says that I listen to feedback. Other people say it too. And I'm just going to put that on like a loop and just play it to her. And she will appreciate it. But no, I mean, we've been talking for a little while now, and I'm glad to get you on the show. But there is something else before I get into the commercial break and then come back in the main event. I just want to talk a little bit about TikTok. Tell me about that.
Sure. You mentioned his name a few times, but listen to the Gary Vee podcast, and he's been pushing it for like, I don't know, 6 months or 9 months or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought like that there wasn't a ton of motorsports people doing it yet, so I thought it was a good opportunity to like maybe get a head start on that. And I started a TikTok account, threw on a couple videos. They did okay. I like my 6th or 7th video went like semi-viral, where it's got like, I think it has like almost 5 million views now. And my TikTok account is at like 17,000 followers, which is a lot more than, I think I have almost 3,000 followers on Instagram. So the traction kind of was quickly there, and that's what like Gary Vee was talking about, is the algorithm and everything on TikTok isn't as limited as what it is on Instagram or Facebook. So it's more of an opportunity to pick up like followers and put out content a little bit easier on TikTok.
Yeah, and you reached out to me after I talked about that in one of the episodes, and said like, hey, I can talk about TikTok a little bit. I'm on it. I don't have an account, but you can view TikTok without having an account, and I've done a little bit of investigation on it, and it's it on the surface it's hard to see the connection from what you can do with it, but like if you look at some of the views, like if you just open it up, you can see, like you're saying, these crazy amount of views. I mean, just people can put up a video that seems very simple, or like you're not even too sure why it's getting all these views, but it gets these millions and millions of views. And the ad space is not overwhelming like it kind of is in Facebook or Instagram right now. They still have ads in there, but it's not the same. Like right now, Instagram is so packed with ads, it's hard to even see the content that you think you want to see. But I was going to try to open this because I haven't actually seen your account. I don't know what TikTok is going to do when I open it. If it's automatic, it just automatically starts making noise. You can probably hear something. This is an ad. It's a Spotify ad. Hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the only ad they end up putting on right when you open it up. But
yeah.
No, you're 100% right.
What's your real quick? What's your I don't know what you would call it, your name on TikTok?
It's at JK703 _ racing.
Oh, so it's like the same as your Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Let's see if I can find it. Oh yeah, right there. Boom. All right, so let's find this video here. Is it the one that? Oh my gosh, yeah, 4.8 million. This is crazy.
Then there's a couple other one that I have from Grantsburg Watercross that have hundreds and thousands of views and
holy cow,
thousands of likes, and yeah. So you're 100% right. Like the traction or like the content you can get put out there and the eyes you can get on it is just so much different than anything else.
Yeah, this is nuts.
In this space, it's slightly different. So where you put like your caption or your tags or your hashtags, I think it's limited to it's very few characters. So you can barely put in like a full sentence, or I think it's like only limited to like 10 or so hashtags.
Oh,
so that's where for sponsorship, it's much different, where you can't tag your 5 sponsors, put in 20 hashtags, and have a 3-paragraph sentence about how your race weekend or whatever went. So in that sense, it's much more difficult to have the interaction with your sponsors. But I'm sure as it goes on, there's going to be changes that are able make it so it's monetary, like revenue generating.
Right. Here's one. This one, it has 19,000 plays or views. When you sink the snowmobile in the lake. So I guess I didn't even need to ask the question. I could have just watched your TikTok. But like if people can hear this, it's just like a music track that you got playing, and then there's a video of you sinking it in the lake. Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. Like your first video that on here, it looks like you or somebody else come around the corner. 127,000 views. Yeah, that's you, I think.
That was me at Grantsburg, and one of the fans actually sent me that video.
Oh,
on Instagram,
really?
So it was pretty great.
Yeah,
pretty great that you were able to send me that.
But that's like a 3-second clip, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a 4-second clip. And 127,000 views. You can hear the exhaust. So like, I mean, that would be exciting if I was Bikeman. I'd want people to know that. This is just it's crazy engagement, and I'm glad that you are brought this up, because I like I said, I haven't done a lot of investigation on TikTok, but I haven't seen somebody have success with like a motorsports style TikTok. I mean, it feels very Instagram-esque of what I usually see on my Instagram content here, but it's full screen views on a phone. My phone's about to die. I have probably shouldn't be burning out the battery here, but like there's a lot going on here. And I think even if I look at, it's kind of nice how it shows the your total likes. It says you've had 209,000 likes.
Yep.
And that's pretty neat. I think, like, if I was to show that to a sponsor, I think that'd be pretty cool. Like, hey, guys, look, 209,000 likes in, 20 videos or something like that.
And I've been trying to figure out for, like, the upcoming season how I'm going to portray that, because most likely any sponsor isn't going to have a TikTok account.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out how I should try to use that in my, like, pitch or to update them. Because
they won't know.
As of right now, it might not be that interesting to them, but maybe in the future. The other thing to note is the videos. Once you create a TikTok video, you can also share it to Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, all with just a click of a button. So it's like amazingly it interfaces with the other apps really well.
Oh, okay. So like I think I should have the volume turned back off now. So I should be able to. Maybe I need an account to this. So share to. Okay, hold on. Instagram. Let's see how easy this is. I might not need an official account to do this. Yeah, look at that, just like that. So I'm gonna put this on my story. And then just like that. Wow, this is way easy.
You were able to share one of my videos?
Yeah, I just shared. I just went on yours.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna tag you in it. And it showed me it's got a little TikTok sign with your hashtag on it. This is kind of weird that I can just share your video, but because what if I didn't tag you? I mean, it shows your name on here, but let's see. You should be getting a notification in a minute, which we might even hear on this on the phone. Super simple to do that. So pretty interesting. Pretty powerful stuff. I mean, that's a lot. 5 million views. That's a lot.
Yeah. And there has been a fair amount, like Ross Robinson, Chris Brandt, some of those guys. They have TikTok accounts now.
Okay.
I think like Sledders Are Us. There's a handful now.
Yeah.
Like, my feed is actually a lot of snowmobile and motorsports stuff now, just in the last few months.
Oh, there it is.
On there.
There it is, folks.
But yeah, literally it seems to take, like, you gotta get 1 or 2 viral videos to get, and then I picked up 10,000 followers from that one video.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. So Chris Brandt, Thomas Affel, Sledders Are Us, Ross Robinson, all on TikTok, and Justin Krabben. It's happening. And Charlie D'Amalio. I don't know her name right. You know what I'm talking about? You don't know
I'm not sure about that.
She's some sort of, like, the only reason I know about her is because she's on ads and stuff as, like, the most popular TikTok person on the planet. She's like,
oh, really?
Yeah, she's like the ultimate TikTok person, and she does something that's supposed to be really awesome. I don't know what it is, but she's super famous. She's like 14 or something. I mean, I think that's probably one of the weirder things about TikTok is most people are really young. I guess it's only weird if you're not really young. Probably the weird thing about Facebook is everybody's not young. But I think that's what's cool about it.
That's what definitely for personal accounts and stuff. I think people like they're in their late 20s, 30s aren't jumping to get TikTok.
Right.
But I kind of thought, like, looking at it through a business lens, like,
yep.
Eventually those 14 to 17-year-olds or whatever that's going to be your customer base. So
exactly.
It's kind of like being early to Instagram or anything like that, where if you can build a following and utilize it down the road or in the next year or two, it might be advantageous.
Yeah, that's what I think is awesome, is if you can get, let's say somebody's watching your video and they're like, oh, I'm 15, 14 years old. I didn't even know you could do this. I didn't even know you could ride a snowmobile on water. I want to do that, right? And maybe they get into the sport in 3 or 4 years. Like, that's awesome. Or if they are into, either that kind of sport or snowmobiling, and they're like, I don't know what kind of helmet to get. Oh, this is kind of cool. Like, he's got this Zox helmet. Like, I'm gonna get one of those. That's the power of it for people who probably don't have a lot of exposure to it. I mean, that's reaching a really big audience in a really short period of time for people who could be, potentially getting into sport in the future. So I don't know. I think you're proof here that it's possible. And I'm gonna have to pay a little bit more attention here to what other folks are doing. Like, maybe I'll start following. I might have to get an account to create an account, but maybe I'll create an actual account on TikTok and start following, like, the Chris and the Ross and you and pay some more attention to these folks.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I am actually going to take a quick minute now and thank the sponsors for this podcast, and then we'll come back into the main event. Let's talk about your truck for a minute. You can count on it to haul your vehicle and your gear to the track or to the trailhead, but I bet you never think about the motor oil. Here's why you should. Your oil is the only thing preventing your engine from wearing out and breaking down. To keep your truck running strong, look for an oil with added wear protection. Like, for example, AMSOIL Signature Series Synthetic Motor Oil. It delivers 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than is required by the leading industry standard. It provides the next level protection today's demanding engines need to keep running for years and to keep effortlessly towing your ride to the track. Go to AMSOIL.com/rider to find out more. Make the switch to AMSOIL Synthetic Motor Oil today to keep your vehicle running great.
Hey guys, George Hamill here to talk about SolderWeld's new off-road repair kit. If you're a racer of any type or an off-road enthusiast like myself, you're going to want to take a close look at this product that bonds metal on the spot. SolderWeld has combined some of their most elite products into one small kit that fits perfectly under your seat or strapped to a roll cage and allows you to make some insane fixes anywhere you go. How many of us have been in a race or out on the trail and got a rock chip in a radiator or brake line? We have seen a top-tier desert race team at the 2019 Min 400 taken out by a simple rock to the radiator. If they had an off-road repair kit on board, they could have been back up and running in just minutes. The kit includes everything you need to work on dirty aluminum, stainless steel, copper, and many other metals. SolderWeld's cutting-edge technology allows you to make these fixes with extremely low heat and incredibly high tensile strength, leaving you a lasting fix every time. Don't be that guy broke down on the side of the trail. Get your off-road repair kit today, and your friends will thank you.
2 questions I get continuously about this show and about sponsorship is, do I need my own website and do I need a resume? The answer is, in my opinion, yes to both, and that's why we partner with TopThePodium.com. Now, if you want to see an example of what a professional website and what a professional resume looks like, you gotta check out TopThePodium.com. They did my website. The Sponsored Rider Club Podcast website is SponsoredRiderClubPodcast.com. That was created by Jeff Vanistall of TopThePodium.com. I think it's awesome. I get a lot of good feedback about it. And there's a number of other websites out there that Jeff has produced that are just phenomenal. So I think it's important in this world of social media where you have control of your content. That's what a website does. It gives you full control. We don't know what Facebook's going to do sometimes. We don't know what Instagram's going to do. We don't know what Twitter's going to do. So if we don't have that central location to direct people and house our content, there is some risk that we incur. So I strongly recommend getting a website, talking to TopThePodium.com. And then the resume, again, is massive. And if you want to stand out, get it done professionally. And honestly, it is one of the best ways to step up your game and present yourself in the best way possible. Safety is our overriding priority. I hear it all the time, but I have to ask myself, is it though? Is that the first thing we think of? Is that the first thing you think of? Over the past couple of years, we've seen the performance of production UTVs increase, somewhere around 350%. That means these machines give us a lot more opportunity to have fun and win races, but it also, unfortunately, gives us new opportunities to crash. And that's why we have partnered with Crash Addict Industries. The owner, Travis Pointer, became very accustomed to crashing early in his career. He saw it as inevitable, and he set out to make the process safer. With a passion for racing, welding, and engineering, Crash Addict Industries now produces full cage and other protection systems intentionally designed to protect you during an accident on the track. They also offer a line of human protection products through their vendors. Do this for me at this point. If you're racing with a stock cage right now, please go check out CrashAddict.com and at least just see what they have to offer. Even if you choose to go with a different company, please make safety your overriding priority. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We are now in the main event, and that's where we really focus on the sponsored tactics and strategies. But honestly, we already hit some of those in the background there, because I started asking the questions about TikTok, which I thought was pretty cool that we could cover some of that. And there's a few other things, though, that I think we can probably hit on while you're with us. And what I like to ask almost everybody is to explain some examples or walk us through a couple of stories where you built a relationship with a sponsor, whether it's how you found them or how they found you, whatever it may be. So which one do you want to talk about?
Yeah, for Evans, Zox, and Shot, that was all through Instagram. So kind of like after listening to the podcast for a while, hearing about all the racers and influencers and stuff talk about how social media was pretty important. As soon as I bought the watercross sled, I started an Instagram account, started being active on it, and then reaching out to companies before the race season started. So I hooked up with 3 companies before the race season, which was huge to get discounts and things like that for gear for the upcoming season. And then kind of what I explained before, just worked on making sure that there was a value add for them and helping them out in any way, tagging them on everything in social media, but like in the Zox example, trying to go above and beyond to raise their brand awareness. Mm-hmm. And then Bikeman Performance was through fellow racer Brendan Shermer. He had been racing for them last year and got me connected to Joey, and Bikeman was very helpful all season with tips and gave me a few parts and things like that.
Now, when you say you connected with them on Instagram, how did that start? I mean, I'm assuming it's with a DM, or did they message you? Like, how did it really kick off?
Yeah, that's a good point. So how I went into it was I had like a story where I talked about being a high performing athlete, plenty of snowmobile experiences in my first year racing, but I expected to have a quick learning curve and be successful right away. And then, but one thing I didn't do is I didn't ask for anything. I just talked about partnering. And then once they messaged back, and if we got on a phone call, then after we had some dialogue, then tried to figure out how they could help me, but make sure that it was mutually beneficial.
Okay, that's good, because I like social media direct messaging as a tool to start a relationship. I think it's great. I mean, that's what it's there for. But it's a fine line. You can quickly cross over into the into the wrong zone there where you're asking for something right away. I mean, I talk about that in the show all the time about folks just like, sponsor me, bro. And that's, so this is an example of if you do not do that, you can have some success.
No, for sure. That's the biggest thing, especially it's the same thing as like cold calling. Like you gotta, I just went into it making sure that I showed my value before I asked for anything. Mm-hmm. And then especially throughout the entire season, making sure they're updated, making sure they're tagged and everything, trying to go above and beyond. I asked multiple times throughout the year, like if there's anything I could do, if they're going to heydays if they needed help there, things like that.
No, sounds good. That's awesome. A simpler way to make a connection with a DM can build into a little bit more complex conversation, on the phone and whatnot, and then it turns into giveaways and all these other different things. So that's good. I like it. So have you run into a time where things didn't go right, or didn't go as expected, or maybe you got it didn't work out? I mean, do you have an example of that?
No, nothing too bad. I've had one experience with a company that kind of was displaying that they were having a sponsorship program, and I applied to it, and they accepted. And by the time we kind of got to the end, we kind of mutually decided, like, hey, this isn't a perfect fit, and it felt weird to like kind of say no, but I wanted to make sure that maybe in the future, but just like at the time, I think you've talked about multiple times, like you don't want to have 10 sponsors that you end up kind of diluting it and then not really helping anyone. So it was kind of just a decision where it wasn't mutually beneficial. So I kind of went one way, and I'm sure as this goes on, as the sponsorships get bigger or more serious, that those decisions have to be made. But that was the kind of negative feeling I had right away. I felt bad like applying for it right away, and then whatever it was, a month or so later, kind of saying no.
Yeah, that's got to be tough to get to that point, especially kind of earlier on in your career with some of the stuff. Like, I mean, how did that go? I don't want to go into like who the company is or anything like that, but how did that conversation come up where it became mutual? Because I think that's ideal. Yeah. I think if you can get to that state where it's a mutual separation, like you're golden, high five everybody, like we made the decision together, no hard feelings, we're moving on, like this is the right thing to do. But how do you get to that point?
No, I think so. It was Woody's Racing, so they have like studs. So that gives it some context where like we don't run studs in watercross, but they were running a sponsorship program, and I still thought, like, look at all these, our fans are sled heads, so it's like almost a non-endemic where it's like they're still going to see Woody's and be like, hey, there's Woody's. So I still thought there was some benefit there, but by the time we got to the end, like their main thing for their sponsorship program was to have some discount on products. I'm obviously not using products, so kind of got to a spot where I said, look, I'm debating doing like cross country in the next year or two. If I end up doing cross country, I'll get into contact again. Then it'll be more mutually beneficial. But that kind of at this point, it wasn't going to work out the way we both envisioned. Yeah.
You could have sent some studs, I'm sure, to folks on the line here who are listening. I'm sure that they're taking your discounted studs. But
yeah, for sure.
No, that's good. I think it's a good experience to have. Having a sponsor and deciding to separate. I like I said, I think it's got to be hard to do. Well, I mean, I've separated from sponsors too, and it's sometimes it's actually all of the separation I've had have been very mutually beneficial. Nope, that's a lie. I had one that was an issue. I had to publicly announce that it was an issue too, because of what was all going on. People who've been following long enough, they know what I'm talking about. And it wasn't just me that got an issue. But, Bold Racing has been with me for a long time. And, we parted ways here. Well, I should say he's not an official sponsor anymore. Jimmy Moore isn't, but, like, he's still one of my buddies, like, and he's doing great things. It's just we're not partnering together on the show anymore, but it was all good. I mean, we had talked about it for months ahead of time. Like, hey, you ready? Like, want to keep going? Yeah, let's keep going. Like, all right, like, you sure? Yeah, I'll let you know when I'm ready to break up. All right, cool. And that felt really good. To work on that over time and, you know, figure out, all right, this is the point right now. We're gonna make the separation, and sounds like you had something like that. And you might even have a potential in the future, since you didn't burn any bridges or whatnot. Like, if you do get into the cross country, like, you call them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. What about something unique? Is there something kind of different that you've done to promote your sponsors?
Nothing's too special. I kind of mentioned the giveaways.
Well, you know what though, the TikTok videos, that's kind of unique. I mean, I saw that you had people tagged in there. Obviously, it's not the same effect of tagging, but like that's kind of unique. I don't think there's a lot of people out there doing that right now.
Yeah, and Zox actually sent me a helmet for my son. He's getting a kitty cat for Christmas. So I'll put out like a video for that. I was planning on doing stuff like that, and I think maybe trying to utilize it for some product reviews, things like that, going forward. But the biggest thing is just trying to figure out what they really want, and try to make sure that you're promoting them to the best of your ability.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and hop into the lightning round here. I got one of my favorite questions to ask, and I've kind of fallen off. Maybe you might know better than me. I think I've fallen off on asking this question. I think I've skipped over it a few times in several of my interviews over the last couple of months, but hey, we're doing it today, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
If you could sponsor anyone in the world, who would you choose and why?
So I think I just met him this past summer. It'd be Caleb Chesterkey. He's backcountry snowmobile.
Okay.
Rider. He rides for Polaris and 509. 509 actually had him out to Grantsburg for a watercross race, and he raced on a board sled and did really great.
Nice.
We've kind of kept in contact since, and just from getting to know him, he carries himself so well. He works super hard. He's into fitness. He's very professional in everything he does, and he's kind of on the leading edge of like the snowmobile social media. And I think he's just a great ambassador for the overall sport. And I think he's going to be one of the top guys going forward for years to come.
Nice. So I'm going to see if I follow this person. How the heck did you spell that? Do you know?
Caleb, and then his last name Chesterkey, K-E-S-T-E-R.
Oh! That's how you say it? Chesterkey?
I don't know. I texted him tonight to make sure I didn't mispronounce it, but he didn't text me back early enough.
Nice. Okay, yeah, so hold on, Meow. He was actually interested in coming on the show at one point. We haven't made it happen yet, but on August 24th of 2019, he was interested in coming on the show. So maybe I'll have to poke him again on that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I do not know how to say that name, but it's I know what it looks like on Instagram. Well, that's cool. Yeah, good deal.
He'd be perfect to have on because he's went through quite a few changes in the last year or so. He was riding on a Arctic Cat before, and now he's kind of like on the Polaris team. Yeah. And he just got back from Russia, so he really started from like the ground up, and now is like where anyone kind of aspires to be. Like, it's kind of the dream to be able to do riding for one of the big manufacturers.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. Looks like he's got good content too. I mean, I think I've been following him for quite a while now. But yeah, everything on here looks pretty solid. So good stuff. You know, I've got this on my list of like solo shows to do one day, and I still haven't done it. I was gonna answer this question myself. If I could sponsor anyone in the world, who would I choose and why? I don't have an answer. I ask people all the time, and like if they try to dodge the question, I force them to answer it. But not me. Not me. I haven't answered it yet, so I'm gonna keep it that way.
I think another one that I went down the rabbit hole on YouTube is Danger Boy Deegan. Have you seen those YouTube videos?
No, I have not, but people have told me about it, and they said that I should start watching them.
Yes, so it's Brian Deegan's kids, and they have like a full film crew following them around. They're like super into motocross, and it's unbelievable, like good content, but it's just amazing, like how much effort they're putting in. Deegan just like started a podcast where his first episode was kind of about like raising your kids to be competitive and the risk of motocross and all that. So it's awesome content, and those kids are just gonna excel.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. You know what? If you're listening right now and you want to start a podcast, you can go back to episode 200 that I just did. This one's going to be 201. You probably didn't know that. This one's going to be 201. I'm going to release it very quickly here. But yeah, it's going to be 201. And in 200, we talked about that, how to start a podcast. I spent a long time yammering on about what I think it takes to start a podcast. So, yeah. Maybe he listened to my show and then started a podcast one day later. Just kidding. Well, hey, speaking of shows, it's time to head to the finish line. I suck at transitions. I always try to do some fun, clever transition, and like nothing comes to mind as I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
You got to write down some segues.
Yeah, I need to like come up with something. I'm always thinking that like as I'm saying the first two words, I'm like, all right, the next ones are gonna come out. Like, just wait, Josh. You're gonna pull through here at the end, and it never happens. Never happens. But no, we're at the finish line. We're gonna wrap things up here. If people only remembered one thing from this conversation, if they forgot everything else, what would that one thing need to be?
To come out and watch one of our IWA watercross events.
Ooh,
no,
hook. Hook 'em.
I'm just kidding.
Plug.
But seriously, if you're in the Midwest, type in IWA watercross racing in Google and find our schedule. But no, for something to take away, I would say like just jump into it. If you're thinking about cross country racing, dirt bike racing, snowmobile racing, or just trying to like use social media as to support your hobby a little bit more, I think it's an amazing tool, and you kind of just got to jump in and start putting out content and being active on social media. And I think that the way marketing and advertising is trending, like it's just going to become bigger and bigger, and it's fun to get into. Like I definitely wasn't like an Instagram person before, and now I kind of love getting on there and looking at what all the other motorsports athletes are doing and interacting with them, putting out some of my own content, and getting into the whole motorsports racing scene. I grew up playing hockey and baseball and every sport you can think of. I never was into racing, and it was always kind of on the back of my mind that it'd be a great thing to do. And it's amazing the people within racing. I think it's all types of racing are just under great people. Everyone's there to help each other. I think with the dollar amounts that pro athletes are getting paid, I think it gets a little bit too crazy, and 10-year-old hockey kids and baseball kids. So the type of people in the atmosphere at some of these racing events, I think, is pretty amazing for families, spectators, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. Well said. Well, what's the best way for people listening to connect with you?
Yeah, the best is on Instagram at JK703_racing, and it's the same on TikTok and Facebook.
Mm-hmm. And you used to be, your old handle was what, F8 Watercross?
Yeah, and then the F8 is gone, and I'm racing a Skidoo Bikeman mod now. So
yep.
I had to change the handle, so it's a little bit more generic now, not related to what I'm riding.
You know, when I still got this problem. When on my Instagram, I used to have a JK Wrangler, and I can't remember the name of it, but it said something like JKU something or another, and then I got a JLU, so it said JLU, and then now I got a Raptor. I was like, one, I either need to stop naming my Instagram handles after my vehicles, or I need to stop getting a new vehicle every 5 minutes. So one of the two needs to change. But yeah, I know the pain. I know the struggles. But the only reason why I remember that was when I was looking at the Zox Helmets one. It was one of their older tags, and it had the F8 watercross tag on there. I was like, no, the tags don't automatically update.
Yeah, that's a good tip for everyone out there. If you're using your Instagram for content, to be wary of what your first kind of Instagram tag is.
Yeah, it definitely means something. I think it's fine tweaking stuff. Like I said, I've changed mine a couple of times, but the only real downside I think it has is if people go back later to an older tag, it might not work. But or if people they might not recognize you. But yeah, it's a good point. Think about what your handle might be, and if you're setting up one of those profiles, and if it's possible, stick with it. It's probably best if you can stick with it, but whatever, it happens if you got to change. No big deal.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Oh, and before we go, I just wanted to thank you for putting out 201 episodes. I think there's got to be more people like me that you've inspired to get into racing, inspired to get into sponsorship, and I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, I appreciate that. And, for people who are listening right now, if you got a story you want to share too, maybe it's a little bit non-traditional guest or whatnot, reach out to me. We can talk. Maybe there's a chance of you coming on. I've always thought about doing a show where I just bring people on to talk about how they've made changes in their program because of the show. We got a lot of that here in this one, but if people are listening right now and you want to do something like that, let me know, and maybe we can coordinate something over the next couple months here. So, but that's it. At this point, I am going to leave you with this. Have fun and ride safe. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4 Wheel Parts. I want you to make sure that you are subscribed to this show, whether it's on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss upcoming guests and upcoming episodes. And then follow us on social media. We're on all of the platforms. You can find out the most content, though, on our Facebook page. That's where we do our live videos. To get some insider access to upcoming guests, you can also check out the Sponsored Rider Club on Facebook. It is a support network where you can ask questions about best practices and get feedback from our audience. A special thanks goes out to our sponsors, 4 Wheel Parts, AMSOIL, SolderWeld, Bold Racing, TopThePodium.com, and Crash Addict Industries. And I also want to shout out some of our other partners, MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, and High Octane Coffee. I look forward to serving you again next week. Until then, have fun and ride safe.